Watch Symposium. I'm Austin, and this is the second custom video for Cliff. If you haven't seen video one, we talked about his reference 5500 Air King Explorer. Link in the description to that video. And he's got a two-piece Rolex collection, 4-digit vintage Rolex watches. And in this video, we're going to look at his second piece. And reading his email, he says, "Wanted to share another joy that this past Thanksgiving I bought. A vintage 1963 DayDate with doorstep, dial, and sword hands from Bob's Watches. It did not come with the original bracelet, and I pair it with some aftermarket leather bands. Just hoping to get your opinion on it." Wow, interesting watch. And again, it's a 1963 DayDate, so this would be an 1803. And let's talk about the history of the DayDate. It's kind of interesting. 1956, so 11 years after the date just came out. So 1956, the first DayDate was the 6510, and it had a domed bezel. And I want to say it was the first and last domed bezel DayDate, okay? Same year, 1956, they also came out with the 6511. That had the fluted bezel. Those two references only ran for 1 year, all right? And then in 1957, they came out with the 6611, and that ran for only 3 years. It was an updated movement. And then in 1960, the fourth iteration, what Cliff has, the 1803 came out. And that was the same year that Hans Wilsdorf died, actually. All right, so 3 years after Hans Wilsdorf died in 1963, Cliff's 1803 was made, all right? And again, it had the 1555 movement, and that ran at 18,000 beats per hour. Now, 2 years after Cliff's watch was made in 1965, they upgraded the 1555 movement to the 1556 movement, and it had a faster beat rate, 19,800 beats per hour. And then eventually, in 1972, they put hacking in the 1556 movement, and you could finally hack it. And so Cliff's watch is a non-hacking yellow gold DayDate. It's got a pipe hand dial and doorstep indices at the 6 and the 9, which are wide and they kind of slope down, known as doorstep indices. And interesting hands, he calls them sword hands. I don't know what I would call these hands. Maybe they are sword hands. If you know, viewer, let us know. But it's a beautiful DayDate, and he's got it on a green strap, which is very Rolex. And, you know, I gotta say, these are great value because they're gold watches. They're around $10,000. And the fun thing about these DayDates, besides the vintage charm and the acrylic crystal and the pipe hand dial and just the aesthetic, is that they come often on aftermarket straps. And that sort of tones down the gold, right? And I love head-only DayDates because there's a warmth to the gold, but it's not so, it's not so much gold. And the price is a lot cheaper because of that, because you put that bracelet on it and it ups the price by, I want to say, 10 grand. And so a lot of value, a lot of vintage cool, and I would love to have a head-only watch, and I've thought about getting one because it would force me to use other straps. And I think that would be so fun, okay? Because it would be a head-only watch, and so you'd have to use other straps. And so oftentimes what happens is when I put my watches on straps, I feel like it's missing something. But if it didn't come like that, then I guess it wouldn't be missing anything, right? It's a head-only watch, and so I would enjoy the straps a little bit more, I say, right? Knowing me, you know what I would do? I'd get it into my head to source a bracelet for it, and there is where my hell would start. And it would be very expensive, and knowing me, I would do it, and I would have to do it. And the watch would whisper to me, "Soars, soars, soar, do it," and it would be over, right? So I know better than myself to get a head-only piece, but it's a beautiful piece, and I think it's great. And as far as the green, it's kind of funky and cool, and I love the fact that it's Rolex green. It actually works really well with the yellow gold. But the green strap is just the start of what you could do with that watch, and the different looks you could achieve in the different straps. And it's a beautiful watch. And I think so because I got on Rakuten and I started looking at them for myself and thinking, I wonder if I want to go that route. And there's one on Rakuten. It's a 6611 from 1958. Beautiful dial, beautiful hands, almost too beautiful. I don't know. I got to find out if it's redialed, but it's just about 10. And, that would be a cool watch to have as well. So thumbs up. I think it's a great watch to have. Now, question is, what should he do going forward? Well, he's got his 5500. He's got his 1803. Good vintage watches. I think you're good as far as the vintage watches go. I would go for either a modern watch or a neo-vintage watch because I would want, if I were you, Cliff, going forward, a very wearable watch that you could put in water. Now, obviously the head-only, leather strap watch, you don't want that to go in water. And the 5500 acrylic crystal, vintage watches, they shouldn't go in water. Too much risk. So I would want a neo-vintage or a modern Rolex to wear all the time, to wear to the beach, to swim in. Of course, you could go 6-digit, but good luck, right? You're okay with vintage pieces, obviously, so I think you're a prime candidate for neo-vintage, and you would be the perfect guy to shop well for a neo-vintage watch because of your research into these watches. And if you're a bit of a knucklehead, I don't think you should go for 5-digit watches because you really have to know what you're looking at, and not so much in Japan, but in other parts of the world, or you can get burned. I don't think you have to worry about that. So I think a 5-digit sub GMT, get something with a cool function and a rotating bezel. You need a rotating bezel. And of course, my go-to recommendation would be a GMT because you get that rotating bezel, you get the fourth hand. It really does everything a Submariner does. Doesn't go as deep, probably not a big deal, but you can still time things with it. But it's got the fourth hand, right? But the Submariner is, of course, a beautiful option as well, and iconic and a great choice too. But both of those are kind of expensive. And so if you want the best deal, I would say an Explorer 2, right? 16570, either a black dial or a white dial. White dial, I think, is the one to go for if you're going for an Explorer 2. And then you get your GMT function. Of course, you could go with a 16600 Sea Dweller. That's another cool sort of vintage piece that has the date, but then Cyclops, and didn't make a whole hell of a lot of those compared to the 16610s. So neo vintage, that's what I would go for next. Or if you can get 6-digit Submariner or GMT, that would be great as well. But my whole point is that you need something with a rotating bezel to play with and something to swim in. And so 5-digit or 6-digit seems to be the way to go. Great collection. And that would be all you need. Just the one wearable piece that you can take to the beach, and that would be a great 3-piece collection. And really, if you look off into the future to a perfect collection, I think the 2 pieces you have, a 5-digit for the neo-vintage charm and a 6-digit modern ceramic. Because then you've got your 6-digit ceramic piece, you've got your 5-digit neo-vintage aluminum bezeled piece, and you've got your 2 vintage 4 digits, and that would be perfect. A little of everything, a span of the different eras. That would be a perfect collection right there. And guys, let him know what he should do, and at the start, I would go for a 5-digit piece because now's the time to get those. We'll see what happens in the future with the 6-digit pieces. Probably be hard to get in the future too. But viewers, let Cliff know what you think about his collection. Let him know what he should do going forward. If you have any advice for him, I'm sure he'd love to hear it. Cliff, thank you for your custom video request. Be sure to like, subscribe, drop a comment in the comments section, and I will see you guys in the next video. Take care.